attack. It feels like I've been talking to myself again.
Good evening and welcome to NUFC Matters Fans Forum, the show that allows you, the fans, to come on and have your say. My name's Chris Hall, and this evening I'm joined by my good friend Pete Davey. How you doing, Pete?
Very well, thank you. How you doing?
Good, mate. Yeah, very, very good. As you can see, still in my work attire. I've literally logged off pretty late, but yeah, I'm all set. I'm looking forward to tonight. I mean, first of all, Pete, before we kick off, as you know, we have a weekly question, which we've had in from one of the viewers, and I'll touch on that in a moment. But I know that you were at the Emirates at the weekend, and I just wanted to, gather your thoughts on how you felt the weekend went. I know it's not always good to look back, but we've got to talk about the match, and I've got my opinion, but I just wanted to know what it was like for yourself.
Yeah, first and foremost, it was great to go to a ground like the Emirates because I've been once before, and I think we got trounced that day 3 or 4-1, something like that. And I said I would never go back to that ground in a Mike Ashley era. So it was actually nice to go back to that ground under a new era, new manager. Unfortunately, we got this kind of the same result. But in my opinion, I felt we were quite sort of hard done by. You can say that the second half performance wasn't good, and it wasn't. We held our own in the first half. Dubravka made a couple of good saves, but we also made Ramsdale make a couple of good saves. Personally, I think the Shaw tug in the area is a penalty. I think it's a penalty, and if we get that in the first half and we go in 1-0 up, I think it's a different game. I think the pressure's on Arsenal. I think we've got something to hold, and it opens up the game. We kind of gifted them 2 goals effectively, but even before that at 1-0, when we have that chance with Callum Wilson, which I also think is a penalty, and we were screaming for it because it was right there in front of us, we could see it. For me, it's a penalty. The guy's about to pull the trigger and you're taking him off balance. No matter how small that nudge is, that is enough to take someone off balance that's about to shoot, that's in on goal. It's a penalty. Yeah. It's a penalty. It doesn't have to be a full-on shove. It doesn't have to be a tackle that brings him down, right? He's taken him off balance on purpose, right? So he can't take the shot. It's a penalty. And the ref had an absolute shocker of a performance on Saturday. That not just because of those 2 decisions. He was giving everything to Arsenal in the first half. Everything. Every 50-50. Every 60-40 in our direction that we were getting on the end of and winning. The ref was giving it. So it was always going to go one way. But those decisions were an absolute, calamity. And I'd be shocked if he's reffing in the Premier League either this midweek or next weekend on the back of that. So, we can talk about the performances of individuals that let us down in terms of the goals. But, we were well in the game for long parts and should have really been 1-0 up.
Yeah. No, I agree, mate. I agree. I mean, it wasn't one of those performances, obviously, despite the results, where you come away and think, bloody hell, that wasn't great. Like, I did feel that at parts we were pretty good. Obviously, the second half didn't quite match the first half.
No.
That was disappointing. But again, Pete, and I don't know if you agree, but again, another pretty solid performance from Jonjo Shelvey. 2 weeks in a row now.
You know what? He just kind of controls the game. He keeps things ticking. What I liked about his game is that, again, he's pressing either side of him in the midfield. He was getting around things. He was winning the ball. He was spraying it out. He was controlling and starting attacks down the sides. His use of the ball is what we've been lacking when he's not been playing this season.
Yeah,
I think no matter how much we dislike him and how we sort of want him gone from the club because of previous performances and attitudes under the Bruce era, you can't deny that when he's in the team, we create so much more because of his ability to pass. Like that chance for the penalty with Callum Wilson, that chance doesn't happen with any other midfielder on the pitch. Like he created that out of nothing, and his vision is so good. We've always said his work rate is the area that he needs to improve on, and you know what? The last 2 games he's improved on that, and long may that continue, because as long as he does that, We've got a player there, and you know what's really interesting about it all is that he's played alongside Willock in that midfield for the last 2 games, and he has looked well and above a much better player than Joe Willock. And you know, to say that, particularly after the end of the season that Willock's had and all the rest of it, is a surprise for me actually saying those words, but it's the truth.
Yeah, to be honest, Pete, I'd like to. Hopefully, one of the fans who come on, mentions Willock, but I'd like to touch on Willock a bit later on in the show because I'm a little bit worried, if I'm honest. Not just from the performances, but also the body language. He just doesn't look. I don't want to say disinterested, but it's bordering that.
Yeah.
That's starting to how it looks to me. And again, I don't want to go into it too much, but going back. And maybe I'm just looking or thinking into things too much. But I remember, when he came out in front of the fans and he was
I was
announced.
going to say exactly the same, Chris.
Hey, he looked fed up, didn't he? He
Yeah.
looked as if like, oh, no. I've actually had to sign.
Chris, it's an amazing point. And you know what? I'm so glad you said that, because when we were going to get on to Willock, I was going to say exactly the same, is that I never said anything at the time. I thought maybe
didn't.
It's just because it's been a whirlwind of a move for him and all the changes and all the rest of it. But I couldn't help but think when he came out on that day against West Ham, whether it was raining or whatever it was, he did not look happy.
He looked
there wasn't a smile on his face.
Yeah.
And like I couldn't help but think at the time, is this kind of a last resort for him that he's moved to us? But I thought, you know what? No, because like he had a great season.
Yeah. You think that
it's such good, like, that will come out in it. But we haven't yet seen a performance from him. So it starts to beg the question, what we both saw on that day, and maybe others saw it as well. People in the chat might get your comments in if you saw a similar thing on the day. Maybe, us thinking that isn't wrong. We could well be. Yeah. But it's a great point, Chris. I'm glad you made it. And I'm glad you saw what I saw as well.
Yeah, but like you, I didn't want to bring it up at the time because I thought, no, it's just me and whatever. But it's all kind of marrying up now. And when he came back from, he left Newcastle, didn't he? Went back to Arsenal, and I'm told that he was informed that he had a future. And then all of a sudden things changed. Newcastle put the bid in, and then apparently somebody above Arteta maybe said, no, you're going. And it just makes you wonder: does he really want to be here? Is he really happy being it? Has he fell out with someone? Because I know that there was rumours that he wasn't happy with John Joe Shelby. Like he didn't get on very well with John Joe Shelby. So you wonder whether I don't know, Pete. More to discuss, I'm sure, but it's worrying for me. He's the big worry in my opinion, and it does. I think it could be a really big problem going forward because we don't have that many options in the centre of midfield. So unless we bring in a new player in January, we could end up with a Hayden or a Hendrick in centre midfield, and I just don't think that's the way forward at all.
Nah.
Right, without any further ado, Pete, I'm going to bring on our first guest, and it's a familiar face, and he's looking pretty similar to you tonight as well, Pete. I've got to say, welcome to Chris. I feel like the odd one out now.
Yeah, I realize that I never get a chance to wear this to a match day because if I go to a match and it's an away day, I don't have many points. I'm most likely sitting in the home side, so I wouldn't wear this. I can't wear this. And if I go to a home match, of course they're going to be wearing the famous black and white. So I figure maybe Pete and I had the same idea.
You must have had a chat. I didn't get the memo, obviously.
Yeah,
I was just, you know what? I just, I get close to us coming on. And I just think, sometimes I don't even wear Newcastle top. I just think, what should I wear? What have I not worn for a while? Bang, grab it.
Get it on.
It turns out we had the same idea. Maybe it's because we had a chat outside the Emirates on Saturday for about
in the rain,
minutes, half an hour. We were just kind of in that mode still.
Yeah.
Mind meld, as they say, like in sci-fi or whatever. All right. So what I want to talk about tonight is sort of a reality check coupled with a gut check. Is like, okay, so it's been like a little over a month since the takeover, and Eddie Howe's been here for like 2 matches, and I was really depressed when I saw today there was the Athletic did a live sort of Q&A chat with George Culkin and Chris Waff, and the whole chat was dominated by the same 2 questions, like what happens if we go down? Will PIF sell off? Will everyone leave? It's like, okay, yes, I know that we've started out very badly. We have a critical week ahead, but it's like I feel like all the positivity that we enjoyed from the first month and a half of the takeover has now like dissipated, and now like we're back to like negative Nancy's, or whatever you want to call it. And I'm just kind of sick of people just kind of putting the cart way before the horse and saying, what's our post relegation plan when we still have 20 games to play. And yes, of course, this week we want to get 6 points. And if we don't get 6 points, it does look dire. But stranger things have happened. We didn't lose against Liverpool last year. We had two 0-0 draws. So we got 2 points off them, and so yes, these 2 games seem to have an outsized importance than any other matches that we faced this time. But there was another comment in the chat where they said, like, has Newcastle faced the record for the most sort of do or die matches, like in the last couple of years? Like, how many times have we been going into a match, whether it was Norwich last year, it always seems to be Norwich, or any other match where they said this is a must win, and we all sort of thought that we were facing a must win against Brentford, and that didn't happen. So I just sort of want to not be unrealistic and be sort of pie in the sky. None of us think we're going to be, we have the greatest team and we don't need any changes. So I'm just sort of looking at what we can do in the next couple of matches to really kind of turn the attitude around. And that would begin, I think it'll be good that it's sort of in a way that we have these mandated squad changes with the 2 suspensions, with Richie and Lascelles being out. And of course, that should give an opportunity for players that we haven't seen in the squad for a while. And we're thinking Jamal Lewis might get a shot, might get a shout. Of course, some people will say, well, it's not going to be Lewis. It'll be Kieran Clark will come back in the squad. And then what do we do about Matt Ritchie being out? And that's another opportunity to put somebody who's in a more natural position than Matt Ritchie. So I'm sort of wondering what you guys think. How much do you think like it'll be a completely different replacements for Ritchie and Jamal Lascelles, or whether you think, as I do, sort of, I wouldn't expect him to play Fernandes and Jamal Lewis. That's what we all want, but I sort of feel like it's going to be one of Fernandes and Jamal Lewis, but not both of them. And I sort of wondered what you guys think about how much those 2 forced changes is going to remake the team, and whether people will respond if we do get the Jamal Lewis and Fernandes. Because if Fernandes doesn't play, we've got to find out. And everyone has said that they've asked 3 different times, and there's been no satisfactory answer to what's the issue with Fernandes. And I know that it's not a Nature Football Club to be sort of like open the curtains and to be completely transparent. But I do think that if we don't see Fernandes in the squad this time with the forced changes, then serious questions have to be asked, and they should treat the media like adults and have an adult answer than to a adult question, and not treat the media like children or pesky children, asking when we're going to get there, when's Christmas or something.
What are your thoughts on that, Pete?
Lots of thoughts. Always some good points being raised by Chris. I think one of the main things I took out of there is obviously talking about the formation or the players that are going to come in on Tuesday. I think it's going to be interesting. Obviously, they are forced, but if you look at how a lot of the fans are feeling around Lascelles and Matt Ritchie at the moment, it's probably been a little bit of a blessing.
Yeah.
You touched on Lewis. Lewis has to play. He has to play. If he doesn't play tomorrow, he's never going to play. He is our only left-sided left back, left wing back, whatever you call it, in the squad. He has to be playing, and against his old club as well. What better moment would it be for him to come back into the team and prove his worth against his old club and actually get a performance in that gets us our first win or helps us along to our first win? How much confidence is he going to have from that? It's going to build him up massively, and it can only be a good thing for him and for us and for the manager. So fingers crossed for that. I've got an opinion on Fede Fernandez. So we were there, Chris A, at the Emirates when the squad came out, and I showed you the squad. And one of my first overriding thoughts about the squad, my first thought when I saw the lineup and looked at the squad, is that Fede Fernandez isn't going to be here past January. If he's not getting in this squad now, with the defensive issues that we've got,
He's got no hope.
I don't think he's got a future at the club. And we have to go back to this point that we have to get rid of players in January in order to get players in, not unless the club are willing to pay the wages of players that are not going to make the squad, so not going to play any football, but are just going to train every week. Now, we moved past that when we got rid of the likes of Atsu and Save and all the rest of them the year previous to that. I don't think this ownership will go down that same route. So players will leave this club. And the fact that he's not even getting in the squad says to me that he's going to be one of the casualties in terms of one of those who moves out of the team, unfortunately. I do rate him as a defender. I fully expect him to come back in as that leader of the line at centre back, and I fully expect him to have a really good game on Tuesday. I have to be honest, but I think they're Eddie Howe in the consortium are clearly looking long term, and they're clearly looking at players that they need to move out in order to get players in. Personally, I'd be looking at Kieran Clark to move out, but the issue is, I think I'm right in this, is that Fede Fernandez's contract runs out at the end of the season, whereas I think Kieran Clark's got another year after this. Now, that's obviously a Mike Ashley issue because he gave him that new contract, and I think that's probably where they're looking at in terms of, he's only got 6 months left. It'd be easier to move him on rather than get rid of Clark, and we'd have to try and command a little bit of money back from Clark. It would be a little bit more difficult to get rid of him. So yeah, they were the two things that came out to me. I'm really surprised. I am also worried about Callum Wilson being on 4 bookings. I was worried about the way he was playing on Saturday because he was, he was in a dogfight against Gabriel and he lost.
Yeah.
He lost badly. This was a Deontay Wilder job. Yes, on Saturday. Against Tyson Fury, because Gabriel was an absolute monster at the back. He was a bully. He bullied Callum Wilson. I can't say that I've seen that since he's been in a Newcastle shirt, that a defender's actually bullied him out of the game. Gabriel did that. He was very, very good. So I'm worried about that. If you're asking me which game I would rather Callum Wilson miss, it would be tomorrow, because I still think we can win without him tomorrow. I think it'll be a lot tougher against Burnley. I don't know what your guys' thoughts are. If we were to lose Callum Wilson in the next couple of games, what would you rather him lose him to Norwich or to Burnley?
I'd rather lose him to Norwich. I think the Burnley game's going to be much more difficult.
Yeah.
Would you, Pete, Chris, both of you, would you be tempted to throw Dwight Gale in for the Norwich game? or do you think that's that's a bit too much of a risk? What do you think?
No, I've always thought that I've never been a Dwight Gale in the Premiership fan. I've always thought that he's like a natural goal scorer in the Championship, but but it depends on how he plays, because it seemed like whenever he got a chance in the Premier League, it was always as an isolated striker, like the sole striker, and that's not his. He doesn't play like with his back to the goal. He needs a strike partner to be fed and led, and to get that cross and convert that. He's not someone that's going to take the ball and run towards the goal like ASM or something. Although I guess probably have a better finishing touch than ASM, to be honest. But yeah, I've never rated him, and when in the myriad times that we thought that we had a deal for him to go, and he rejected the deal because he's on a great wage and he won't get the wage somewhere else, I was a little kind of miffed to see him back, and I really thought the only reason why we gave him a contract extension last season was as for championship insurance, that we would know we would have a championship quality striker if proven in the championship if we did go down last season. So
I was like you, Chris. I thought the same, and I also believed that we were kind of protecting our asset. So if you give Dwight Gale a new contract, if a championship club come calling, we can still retain that value and get maybe 10, 12 million for him. I mean, that's not to say that won't happen, but the only problem is his agent's been very clever, because every time Dwight Gale signs a new contract with Newcastle, he gets a raise in his wages. So that's it's going to be harder, isn't it, for a championship club to be able to afford him? Even though he almost, you could almost certainly say he would guarantee promotion for a top 4, top 5 club in January.
I mean, you saw that our favorite Andy Carroll is on a £1,000 a week contract.
Mate, I see. As soon as he bagged that goal, I was all over it, mate.
That's £1,000 that they're spending all season.
But then I carries on watching. I don't know if you saw it, Chris. I carries on watching Sky Sports News, and then they went to I think they were playing at Swansea, and they went there, and he went, yeah, he's gone off injured. So that sums it up. He went off injured towards the end of the game. So
bag the goal, bag the injury. And Andy Carroll 2021, 2022.
But listen, Chris, thank you very much for coming on, mate. We always really appreciate you coming on. It's been a pleasure as always, and really interesting to hear your thoughts. And Chris, I'm going to give you one of these, mate.
All right, lads. Great to see you.
Pleasure as always, mate.
See you soon.
See you again soon. You know what? Just before you go, I feel like I see you, Chris, say more than anybody else.
I know. We are the away day. We are like the official away day crew.
Definitely. I was good you didn't manage to get a ticket in the end. And you know what? Right. I'm sorry, because I know you were going to shoot, but I was absolutely really gutted for you on Saturday, because I know you were queuing for that ticket to try and get in. And honestly, when I got in, the first thing I saw at the Emirates Stadium was empty seats everywhere.
Yeah.
They were everywhere. And I'm like, hold on a second. Well, clearly season ticket holders that have just decided not to go to the game. But there were empty seats plastered everywhere. Probably didn't see it on TV, but it was clear as day. And it's like, hold on a second. You've got someone in that actually wants to watch the game. And you've got people that are just not want to turn up. I just thought it was a joke.
Yeah,
Shame,
I think it's the first time that I've ever gone to an away day without a ticket and not got in. Sometimes I've even got a ticket from one of the stewards is like, hey, here's a ticket. But I think that actually happened at Leicester at King Power.
Oh.
Maybe there was like an in from a mate of yours or something.
Yeah, possibly. Won't be surprised.
Heat Network.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. Yeah. Great to see you guys, and great show. Obviously.
Cheers. Thank you, Chris.
Cheers.
You take care, mate.
Okay.
Take care.
Later.
Always nice to have Chris on. And yeah, he's your new away day buddy, isn't he?
Yeah, he's just like every away day that I go to at the moment, he just seems to pop up like out of nowhere. Just seems to get a message to say I'm outside the ground. Like, what? Didn't even know he was going to the game. But yeah, he loves it, bless him. And we need to get him in. Like every time I've seen him, he's been in the home end watching the game, whether it's like
Yeah.
Watford or Palace. We need to get him in the
Get him in that away end.
Chris A for the away end. That we need to get that trending.
Get that trending, yeah. Hashtag, yeah.
Just before we go on, I know there's a few guys in the chat.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Like Julie and Yano and Mike, I think, that are saying about the slow mode. We're checking it out, guys. Thank you for Julie sending myself and Chris a little something to try and figure this out. We are checking everything, settings, the lot. We haven't done anything to this at all. Nothing that we've not already done. So I'm not sure if it was already there on a previous show that Steve's done, but we are continuing to work on it, guys. So apologies that we're not maybe as quick as we would like to be for you guys anyway. Because some people are saying it's absolutely fine. So I'm not sure why selected people are getting it.
Yeah, no, totally echo that, Pete. And also just wanted to add, I've double checked, and that is definitely the link. Obviously that link got posted out. That's why Chris was on the show. So whether there's an issue with StreamYard, Pete, could be that. I don't know. Because that is definitely the link. I've double and triple checked it. So hopefully some of you can come on. I'm sorry for the technical issues, but I promise it's nothing we've done.
And you know what? The thing Derek said it better than anyone else.
Derek sums it up. Yeah.
Blame
Derek. It's going to be them, isn't it?
They stopped us getting 2 penalties on Saturday. No doubt they're trying to get the best fans form out there off the airways at the moment. So yeah, blame the Premier League.
Yeah, that sounds good to me, Pete. Do you know what, Pete? I owe an apology to Lee Girdleston. So Lee messaged me last week and said that he had a question, and if you remember at the start of the show, I brought it up. Well, I completely forgot, so that wasn't a very good start. So I'm going to ask it now while we've got a little pause in play. So Lee has asked a couple of questions this week, and he wanted me to ask you to them. I've got a feeling they're going to be very quick to answer, Pete, but it'll be interesting to hear your thoughts.
Yeah.
So Lee has asked, if Rafa doesn't buy Bar from us when he was in charge at Chelsea, do Newcastle win the Europa League that season?
That answer's easy. Yes, we do.
Yeah, I thought the same.
Yeah, we do.
Demba Ba, he was so good though, wasn't he?
Yeah,
so good.
It's it's an interesting one because we still had planned to invest anyway in the squad. I don't think we'd maybe have invested in all the players that we did in January. But I think if we'd have kept Bar, got the likes of Sissoko in, I think we could have won the Europa League. I think he was terrific for us, and he was at the time at which he left. He was the leader. He was the catalyst of the team, and he was such a big hole that we didn't fill. And yeah, I do believe that we'd have won it with him in the team, and it's horrible because it's such a shame that he had to leave. He's such a good player, and you know what? It's always the same thing. Always the same thing. Demba Ba, Papi Cisse, Johan Cabaye, Atin Ben Arfa, they all leave because they want to go on to better things and blah, 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 blah. But what happens? They always come back later on in their career and say, I wish I didn't leave Newcastle.
Yeah.
And you know what? It's
so many players say it. So many players say it. Debussy said it, didn't he?
Yeah, Debussy said the same. Pushed to get out because he wanted to go to Arsenal. Push, goes to Arsenal, gets underplayed, gets stuck on the bench, ends up going off and ended up back in France with Saint Etienne and a couple of other teams. And he had everything at Newcastle. He was loved by the fans. He was playing well. He was, he got freedom to roam forward and get balls into the box. It's always the same thing. Always the same thing with players like that. And it's such a shame because we could have built a really, really good team around us if we'd have kept him. But great question, man. Great question.
Yeah, totally agree. And this one's more of a, well, I say it's a question, but it's kind of an observation, really, and you still have to answer it, Pete. But I think I know what your answer will be. Lee says the pundits like to compare Rafa and Bruce, so here's a decider for me. If Bruce and Rafa both took charge of the team that finished fifth at the start of that season, who would do better with that squad?
Sorry, just repeat that question again.
So Lee says the pundits like to compare Rafa and Bruce.
Yeah.
So here's a decider for me. The way some will say, everyone says that Bruce did an equally good job as Rafa, and so on and so forth. He's put, if Bruce and Rafa both took charge of the team that finished fifth under Pardew at the start of that season, who would do better with that squad? So I think what he's saying is, if you give Rafa that team, with the likes of Ben Arthur, Kabay, Cisse, Bar, and you give it to Bruce, who would do better out of the two of them?
Rafa, easy.
Yeah.
Rafa. I'm not saying either of them would have got fifth place, but Rafa would have certainly got us closer to fifth with that squad of players, because you've got to remember that Rafa does play a slightly more negative style of football. So even though you got to, if you remember that season, we were hard to beat. We got a lot of clean sheets that season. And maybe he would have made us a little bit more compact, which maybe would have stifled us going forward slightly. But he would certainly have got us closer to fifth than Steve Bruce. We've already seen from Steve Bruce that the amount of training that we didn't have in the Steve Bruce would have been a problem. Now, we saw the downside of that after that season where we finished fifth, and some of the players took a while to get back into things, because some of them came back unfit. I think Ben Arthur came back quite unfit into pre-season for the following season and really, really struggled and picked up a number of injuries and wasn't really the same caliber of player that we saw the season previous. Now, you imagine him under Steve Bruce. I mean, they didn't have the best relationship at Hull anyway, but you imagine him with Steve Bruce, where you're only training, 3 or 4 days out of 11. Like he did with our players. If he's doing that on a regular basis, our fitness levels would have dropped massively. Now, if you look at the team that finished fifth, we worked teams off the park. We worked teams off the park because we worked together as a unit. We ran for each other, ran ourselves into the ground, but then we had that little bit of quality going forward that would end the game in our favour. So, yeah, Rafa Benitez definitely. What about you? What do you think?
Oh no, I agree. I would say Rafa as well. I mean, I do take your point though, Pete, when you say about it being defensive. In defence of Bruce, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but it's probably because he was tactically nowhere near as good as Rafa. I think Bruce would kind of be a bit more gung-ho, so maybe he would have got a little bit lucky, possibly like Pardew did. We all know that Pardew wasn't the greatest manager in the world, but to be fair to him, he did get us to fifth, didn't he? But maybe that was through maybe not being so careful and cautious, and he was just like, go out there and do your thing. Bit like, again, I'm probably sounding harsh saying this, but a bit like Keegan, in the sense that he would be thinking, how can we hurt them? And he wouldn't worry so much about the defense. Whereas with Rafa, like you say, he would like study all the players, the opposition. Maybe sometimes he'd go into too much detail and be too worried about losing rather than thinking about how to go and win the match.
Yeah, with certain teams in certain seasons, you kind of ride the wave a little bit. Like, you don't realise you're onto something until you're actually onto it, and that was kind of us. Like, we started that season, and it was like all of a sudden, hold on, we could go like 10 games unbeaten here. Like, wow, this is crazy. And we were up there challenging. We just kept building and building. We got trounced by Man City, but then we just kept building and building and building.
Yeah.
And before you knew it, we were in the race, and it was like, oh no, we're actually in this. And players realised we're actually in this. And that's what it is. It's kind of like you're riding the wave, and then you just kind of just go with the flow, and you just keep going, and confidence builds. It's probably around sort of end of March, April time where you really saw the best of our performances, because at that point there was that real belief. So I was back to the game, against West Brom.
I was about to say West Brom. That game. It was that the one where Ben Arthur cut in on his left and just
Electrifying, mate. Honestly,
So
I,
good,
I
man.
don't think I've ever watched 45 minutes worth of football. Probably the 5-1 with Sunderland. A season or two before that. The season before that with Houghton. But I never watched that. I watched that 45 minutes of football and just like mesmerised at the level of quality that we were playing.
Yeah, it was
We just
ridiculous.
destroyed them.
We were in the orange kit, weren't we?
Yeah,
Yeah.
And then not long after that, I think we went to Swansea, and we were bombarded early on, but got the goal. Went 1-0 up.
Cisse.
Cisse, little chip.
Little chip, game out.
Yeah.
It's 2-0, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But really, we should have lost that game.
We were under massive pressure early on, and it's those type of games. The Liverpool game at St James's where Enrique has to go in goal for the last part of the game.
Yeah.
Sent off
Of all the people,
it's just like, it's just games like that where we were just playing really well. At that point, we had belief about us. We had that confidence. Yeah, I use the example of Leicester. Leicester didn't realise they were in a title race until about January. I think when they beat Man City at the Etihad, it was like at that point they were like, we can actually do this. But they just kind of rode the wave. People were talking about it, but thinking, they'll fall apart. They just kept riding the wave, and all of a sudden they were in a title race, and they ended up winning it. And it's that kind of thing. Would Bruce do something like that? Probably not. I don't think he's that lucky.
No, not over 38 games. No, I agree. And also, Pete, just to add, that the season we're talking about when we finished 5th, am I right in thinking it went down to the last game as to whether or not we got 4th? Or was it the second to last game?
Well, I think it was the second to last game, but I think we still had a chance of finishing 4th.
Yeah, we did, didn't we? Yeah, we needed results to go our way. Yeah.
Yeah, and we got beat at Everton. I think.
Yeah, and then it was done.
Away. Yeah. I think the last couple of games or so, I think we kind of just dropped the ball slightly. We lost a couple of games. Can't remember who they were against, but I remember the Everton one distinctively, because we still had hope in that game. We started praying that we could get something. But like I say, it was a fantastic season, to kind of follow. Really, if I'm honest with you, really quite an enjoyable season.
Because we're having some technical difficulties, and we don't have any guests coming on at the moment. Again, I'll put the link on again a bit later. Whether or not anything occurs from that, I'm not sure, and I do apologise for any technical difficulties that we're having. I'm just going to run through a few of the comments and ask some questions to Pete, and obviously I'll give my opinion on them as well. But this one really interested me from Geordie Toon for Life. And he says, I don't understand why Chris doesn't like Hayden. He's our best defensive midfielder. And if you sit him in front of the back four and told just to sit there all game and protect the defence, I'm sure it'd help. Do you know what, Geordie Toon for Life? I actually have a lot of respect for Hayden in terms of how he conducted himself. Obviously, we found out a while ago that he didn't really want to be at the club. That seems to have turned around now. He signed a new contract. And I'm not saying Hayden's a bad player and that I don't rate him. I just personally, in the engine room, for me, I don't think he offers enough. I don't think he's fantastic defensively, and I don't think I know he's not fantastically going forward. And I think in this modern era, in the way the game's played now, you need someone who can do both or be fantastic at one or the other. And I just don't think he is. Like, for example, with Shelvey. Shelvey's got that ability to be able to unlock defences. Yeah, he's got his minuses and he's got his flaws, which we're all aware of, but he can win you a football match. With Hayden, I don't think he's, as I say, I don't think he's bad. I just don't think he's at the standard to be playing centre midfield. For me, I would probably play him centre back, especially because of the frailties that we've got at the moment. And I think he's got the ability as a footballer. I think he's a pretty decent footballer, but I just don't like in the centre midfield. I want players who can either be fantastic defensively or fantastic going forwards, or a good standard of both, and I just don't think he is. So it's not a dislike of him personally. I just want more from my central midfield. I mean, Pete, what do you think about that?
I think you made some really good points. Look, I think someone said in the chat, Blue Moon Boy has put Hayden is our only. He's our best DM as he's our only DM. I think that's
that's a valid point.
I think that's a very fair point to kind of describe Hayden. He's the best because he's the only one that we've got.
Mm.
I find Hayden talks very well. He comes across as a bit of a
Yeah,
leader
he does.
in the way
He
in which he
does.
talks, in the way in which he comes across. He can have really good games and really good moments.
Yeah.
But it goes down to the age-old problem with this squad of players is that we lack consistency, and Hayden lacks consistency in playing a good game every game. I think he would be a starter all the way if he could be consistent with his performances, but he's not. Some games he can be terrific, some games he can be dreadful. I think it's very telling that he's not playing at the moment under Eddie Howe, and Eddie Howe's had 3 weeks to work with him. Okay, one of the weeks he had COVID, but 4 weeks he's worked with him. 2 weeks over the international break, and then obviously he had a week last week where he had COVID, so wasn't working with him. So I think it's telling that he's not playing, because normally under Steve Bruce he'd have been starting every game if fit. So there's something maybe not quite right or not there that Eddie Howe would want in a player, but he's certainly not seeing in Hayden. And I think part of that is his ball playing ability, his ability to be comfortable on the ball and play on the ball. I watched him away at Palace, and I just got so frustrated with him, because he would have the ball at his feet in decent positions, and rather than try and look for a simple pass, he'd just hoof it away and just give possession back time and time and time again. And you can't have players like that in your midfield, especially when you're playing a midfield two, and you're playing in a setup that Eddie Howe wants you to play. You have to be comfortable on the ball, and you have to be better on the ball. You know, we can say everything we want about Willock's performances recently, but what you can trust is that he uses the ball well.
Yeah,
You
he
can
does.
trust that
And he can travel with it.
He can travel with the ball, yeah. I mean, he didn't do enough of that against Arsenal, I have to
No.
say. What he did
He did it in the last 2 minutes, didn't he?
Yeah.
Last 2 minutes he went forward, and I thought, where's this been?
Last 10 minutes, like he started to get the ball and actually, get the ball in attacking areas. And then, like you said, in the last 2 or 3 minutes of the game, he actually got the ball and just was driving with the ball down
he
that
was.
left-hand side. And you're thinking, why wasn't this happening before? That's what he did against Watford, and that's why I rated him so well against Watford. Because against Watford, he got the ball and he just drove at them, and he just ran at them. He committed them to make fouls. He committed them in areas where he was then getting past them and getting into good areas. That is what Joe Willock's all about. That is what Isaac Hayden has the potential to do, but doesn't do it at all. And that's why I think he's kind of hit his ceiling with Newcastle, and I don't think at Newcastle he's going to go any further. I think what you'll find is he'll either be a squad player at Newcastle under Eddie Howe, or we'll move him on. And I think that's the potential to happen. What you found with Isaac Hayden, he came on in the last few minutes of the game where there wasn't really anything happening. But what you'll find is you'll probably find that Isaac Hayden will start doing that even in games that we're winning. He'll probably just come on just to shore up shop, to be someone that's got a little bit of energy about him, that can break up the play, that can stop their attacks to try and nick a goal from us later in the game. He'll be that type of guy.
He's an honest player, isn't he? You're going to get effort from him, and commitments. I can't knock him for that. You might say he's had a bad game, but you won't say he's had a lack of effort or he's not bothered. You won't get that from Isaac Hayden. So for that, I do give him credit. We've also had a question here from Alan Thompson, who sadly couldn't join us tonight. Alan's feeling unwell, so Alan, hope you're feeling better soon, mate. But I appreciate you watching, and thank you for the question. I think this is double battles at you, Pete. We've got Pete and Davey. Do you think most players are not thinking positive, no matter how hard they try? They're not going to be here in 6 months as the results have not improved performances.
Good question. I think I don't think people are not trying. I think it's very clear that we're trying, because I think the effort from the players, certainly on the pitch, and the players that have certainly played since Eddie Howe's taken over, have been significantly better in a lot of areas. In terms of effort and work rate, it's been better. The fitness of the players has been better. So I don't think we can knock that. But I do believe that Alan Thompson's right, that there is something in the back of the mind of certain players that are thinking, this is great and all, richest club in the world, but I'm not going to be here to see it.
Yeah.
And it has to be a reality. You look at the players that we've been linked with. You look at the fact that on the day that the takeover was announced, that Amanda Staveley said that she wants to win the league within the next 5 to 7 years. Like, I'm sorry, but you're looking at Dwight Gale. Dwight Gale is not going to be in that squad in 5 years' time.
No.
Even the likes of Fede Fernandez, even the likes of Kieran Clark, probably even the likes of Lascelles know that they're not going to be in the squad in 5 years' time. Matt Ritchie the same, but Matt Ritchie's working hard. His just ability's not quite there at the moment. You could say that across the majority of the players in the squad, that they know that they're not going to be there to see that. So, is that having an effect? For some players, maybe. The players that I thought it would have effect on, it hasn't. And two players in particular, Fabian Shaw and John Joe Shelby, I really
Yeah.
thought were down tools, because I thought they'd be two players that thought, wow, well, I'm out of here, so I ain't going to bother. And actually, they're the two players that I've been actually quite impressed with. I thought Shaw had another good game in the
Yeah.
Emirates. I thought he's been very comfortable on the ball. He's not great defensively, we know that, but I think from an attacking point of view, as a centre back, I thought he's played well. Still playing some quality balls. There was a fantastic ball he played on about the 75th minute that put Alice at Maximin, I think, in, or Joe Willett down the left-hand side. I'm thinking, how the hell did you find that pass?
He's so comfortable on the ball, Pete, and even when he brings it out, even if he brings it out 10, 15 yards, he pushes the team forward, and he just looks, like I like how comfortable he looks on the ball. Like he'd have it all day, and he'd happily take a man on or search for that pass that maybe some players wouldn't take the risk.
Yeah,
but he seems to do that, and I know he does really well for Switzerland, doesn't he?
He does the same, because he gets given the license to do that. He gets given the license to just go and drive with the ball forward, and we were egging him on. We were shouting for him to go on, because at times in the first half, in the second half, when we were attacking the end that we were behind, he was able to travel 15, 20 yards without even being pressed, and we're going, shoot. And because we did that, they then started to close him down. But he had the ability to just travel with the ball so comfortably, so elegantly. He's just got that quality.
I hope we've retained him.
We just needed a manager that got that out of him, I think.
Yeah. IOP's one that we keep hold of. I've always been a big fan of Fabian Shaw, and like you say, we know his weaknesses, and obviously, if defensively he's got a weakness and he's a centre back, that's not great. But I just think, his qualities, like we say, on the ball, he's got a good shot on him. He's not slow.
Yeah.
I just think he, with the right coaching and the right team around him, he could still be a good player for us. Even if you keep him as a squad player, I think he would be more than happy to stay.
Contracts out in the summer.
Interesting, isn't it? Interesting.
If we don't stay in the Premier League, he's gone.
Oh yeah. He won't stay in the Championship.
Yeah. So this is where it's interesting. It goes back to my point. This is where I thought he might down tools, but he hasn't. He certainly hasn't so far, and he's clearly got the trust of Eddie Howe. So, long may that continue.
Absolutely.
And I do think, interestingly enough, he is the one centre back that Eddie Howe will build that defensive unit around.
Yeah, I do.
The centre backs that he'll bring in will be a left-sided centre back, because we need one. We can't rely on Dummett, although he's trusted in that position. We can't rely on him because of his injury problems. We've been there, done that with so many players with injuries or regular injuries in the past. We can't afford to do that now. So by left-sided centre back, and I think he'll buy a leader in the centre. I think Tarkowski will be that leader in the centre, and I would love to think that we could get someone like Nathan Ake on loan from Man City, and that just significantly improves that defence. You've got three players that are comfortable on the ball in defence, but you've got certainly in Ake and Tarkowski that could defend as well, and it just completely changes the way in which that defensive line is set with those two signings on their own. So yeah, I think they'll actually build that defensive unit around Fabian Shaw, which, if you'd have asked me 12 weeks ago, I'd have said no chance.
Yeah, he's done. Yeah. No, I completely agree, Pete. At this moment, I'm going to take the opportunity to quickly run through the sponsors. So big shout out to our main sponsor, Spider VPN, for all your internet security. Contact the lads. They are here to help. And if you do a search for Spider VPN on Google, they will come up at the top of your internet search list. So get in touch with Spider VPN. Great set of lads. We also have skipsandbins.com. They can be contacted on 0800 25 45 25 free. Email inquiries at skipsandbins.com. Website address is www.skipsandbins.com. Easy, contract free, and pay as you go waste collection. And there we have Sir Bobby in the corner there. Another shout out to L&G Family Funeral Directors who are still with us for this month. They can be contacted on telephone number 0191 389 7245. Big friend of the show, John from qtechshop.co.uk for all your snooker and pool tables from Wallsend in Newcastle. Get in touch with John. We also have Jab Signature, who have the website jabsignatures.co.uk. Get yourself onto there. They've got lots of new clothing, and they also do the flyers for the show. If you haven't subscribed already, click the button in the bottom right, which is for Newcastle Legends. And as always, please like the show. If you've got any comments, please feel free to put them in the chat, especially around if there's slow-mos on. We do appreciate it. Any comments that come in, we do love them. And don't forget, after this show, share this with all your friends and family if you think they will be interested. If you didn't get time to watch the show live, you can always catch up on iTunes and Spotify. And we've got another evening coming up. See, we've got loads of evenings coming up, haven't we? But this one is with Peter Beardsley again. Steve Rafe and Newcastle Legends present an afternoon. Sorry, I'm saying evening. It's an afternoon with Newcastle and England legend Peter Beardsley. That's on Sunday, the 30th of January, 2022, in the Tyne Theatre and Opera House. Standard tickets are £50 and entry is at 2 p.m. So if you're interested, get yourself onto the website and get a ticket. Finally, as you know, I can't go without mentioning mine and Pete's show, Loaded HQ, where we are joined with Daz, Martin, and Richie. If you like what me and Pete do and you enjoy your Newcastle content, get yourself onto YouTube and search Loaded HQ, and you will find me, Pete, and Martin, Pete, and Richie. Martin, Daz, and Richie, sorry. We're on our way to 2,000 subscribers, aren't we, Pete? And I think we're over 1,500 now, so we're doing really well.
Over 1,500, pushing the way up, and there's a lot of people in the chat tonight that are massive supporters of Loaded. So, as always, massive thank you to you for your support. And keep supporting because we've got lots coming up in the weeks to come.
We most certainly have, Pete. Due to the lack of guests, which I won't keep going on about, we have got.
I just wanted to say, with regards to the guests, I know speaking to some of the regulars, like Jeff, for example, who is absolutely gutted that he can't come on tonight.
Oh, yeah, he's having internet problems, isn't he?
No, it's the electricity, because the electricity down. He said there's up to 30,000 without electricity, and I think that's affected not only people in the chat tonight, but also people that would want to come onto the show. So I think some of our regulars and some of the guys that and the girls that would like to be a part of the show have not been able to tonight. So I just wanted to put that out there, and obviously hope every one of those 30,000 without electricity are safe and warm and have got everything that they need. So just massive shout out to you guys out there, because it's not easy, especially being ridiculously cold and with such bad weather at the moment, to be in a position without electricity and potentially heating. It's not a nice thing at all. So big shout out to you guys. Thank you for your support as well, and I'm sure they'll be back next week with us 100%.
Yeah, no, well said, Pete, well said. I'm going to fly through some comments, and then after that, I'd like to hear your thoughts on Norwich, Pete, because seeing as the game is tomorrow, I think we're going to have to talk about it, aren't we? And I know a lot of people in the chat are talking about Norwich too. So I'll fly through these questions anyway. We've had a question from Paul Kinson. If Fraser plays left wing back against Norwich, Lewis's days are numbered. What do you guys think?
100% agree. Paul Kinson's absolutely spot on. He has to play. Jamal Lewis has to play tomorrow, and I believe he will. You will completely shatter the boy's confidence if you do not play him at left wing back and play somebody that's a right winger or a left winger at left wing back. Yeah, we have to play him there 100%. I don't see anything other than Jamal Lewis playing. It's against his old club as well. How disappointed would he be? How gutted would he be? How much would it ruin his confidence that he's not being considered as the only left back, but against his old club as well?
Yeah.
Not good.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And to be fair, with Jamal Lewis, he was away on international duty, wasn't he? So maybe that's why he didn't play last game. But there's no reason why after Eddie Howe spent a good few more days with him that he doesn't just throw him in. Because I would like to see Jamal Lewis come back in, and I think he would improve things on the left, especially in this new setup that we've got. I think he'd be great on the left, Pete. I really do.
Yeah, I do. I agree.
We've had a comment here from Alan Thompson. Spot on, Chris. It's all about being positive. Have we signed Daniel Day-Lewis or Jamal Lewis? I've seen a lot less monster, and this fella, where does he here? Yeah. Do you know what? Talking about positivity, and I wanted to bring this up earlier. I have seen a few fans, feeling a bit negative at the moment. And again, Pete, talking about Norwich shortly, I'd be interested to hear your thoughts. I mean, obviously, we currently lie bottom of the table. It's not good viewing. We're on 6 points. Obviously, we've got Norwich coming up at home tomorrow, and then at the weekend we've got Burnley at home. 2 very winnable games. And all of a sudden, Pete, if we win those 2 games, that's going to put us on 12 points.
Yeah.
And I think somebody said in the chat that'll put us 3 points behind Everton, assuming Everton don't get any points in the next 2 games. And all of a sudden, things look a bit brighter, don't they? And don't forget, after these 2 games, we've got 23 games left. So a potential, if my maths is right, a potential 69 points still to play for. What's your feeling at the moment, Pete? How are you feeling right now? I mean, I'll tell you where I am, and then obviously come on to yourself. But I'm kind of holding back judgment at the minute. I mean, I'm conscious that Eddie Howe's only just come in. The 2 performances that I've seen, one obviously Eddie Howe was there, the other one he wasn't. I've been encouraged, and I think these 2 games are going to be really the litmus test. And I think I said on the show last week, I think it was Unloaded, if we pick up 4 points from these next 2 games, I'll be content with that. I want 6, don't get me wrong, and we should be getting 6, but I always have that pessimistic side, and I'm conscious that we're working with players who necessarily at the end of the season won't be here. Obviously, January is going to be a big window, but I think if we pick up 4 points, that'll put us on 10 points. And then realistically, to stay up this season, I think you're probably looking at 36 points. So we'd need another 26 points, which should be what? If you said, I don't know, 7 wins and a few draws, I don't think that's impossible. What are your thoughts, Pete?
You know me.
Positive
Since that takeover was announced, I've been incredibly relaxed about this situation because, as I've always said, the future of our club is secure moving forward, whether it's a year in the Championship or not. Do I want us to go down? No chance. I don't want us to go down. But at the moment, I'm quite relaxed. I think we've got the right manager in charge that will get us playing the right football. It's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to change overnight. However, we've already seen improvements from this squad of players. We've already seen improvements in the way that we're playing. Yes, we had down moments where we lost concentration and conceded 2 goals against Arsenal, but we've been doing that for 20 years at Arsenal's home ground. We barely win there. So I'm not going off that Arsenal result going, oh, we're in a mess here. Yeah. Things can turn around very quickly. And we've got to remember, although, yes, we are cut adrift by 6 points, some of these other teams are losing games as well. Some of these other teams are not picking up points where they could be or should be, So it's still all out there and all open. And I tell you what, if we get 6 points in these next games, it's back wide open again. Okay, regardless of our run, because I've said it right from the beginning when Eddie Howe took the job. Eddie Howe knows how to get points against some of the better teams in this league. He's proven it with Bournemouth. He can get points against some of the better teams in this league. So I do think along this road in the season, we will pick up points against teams that on paper we've said we've got no chance. So I do believe that's where we will claw some of those points back. So the only slight disappointment was the Brentford game, because I thought, we should have won that game. And I thought Brentford were dreadful. I didn't think they were very good yesterday, and they still beat Everton. Which
No,
it
they
says a
weren't.
little bit more about Everton than it does us. But Brentford weren't good, but our mistakes gifted them the win. We have Dubravka in goal, as we've said, against them. Look at how well Dubravka played. Dubravka doesn't let that goal in, or even, in my opinion, the deflected goal, and we win that game comfortably. And going into the Arsenal game, it would have been a completely different look. We went to Arsenal thinking we really have to get something. But if we'd have been and won that game against Brentford, I think people's mindsets and mentality going to the Emirates would have been very, very different. But I still believe that we win the game tomorrow. I still believe that we beat Burnley on Saturday. I believe that the way that we're playing and we're getting better and better and better, that we will get the results that will push us up the table. We play Everton at some point in December, who are not playing well. We play Leicester, who, yes, they won against Watford, but again, are not playing well. They don't like playing against teams that stifle them. Or come out and attack them. So it's going to be interesting. Manchester United are not playing well. They've got to come to St James's Park. They've got to come to Eddie Howe St James's Park with fans that are backing their team 100% at the moment. Who's to say that we can't turn them over the Christmas period? So these are games that on paper look like we're going to lose and are going to be like complete write-offs, but who knows? And then we get into January, where we've got a number of fixtures into January, February, where we really can take some points. And that's where we need to get players in early doors. I would love for us to have a player set and ready in December that's fine for us. Yeah. Someone like a Tarkowski that we know January the 1st or the 2nd or whenever it is that they're in. And we can get them in playing through the fixtures in January. I know we've got Southampton January the 2nd, so maybe not then, but after that point that can play the rest of January beyond. We need to be thinking ahead. We need these players not just to be signed, but to be signed ASAP for when the transfer window opens. We can't be waiting until the end of January. If we want to pick up a couple of extra deals at the end of January, great, but we need those players that can instantly make an impact, those defensive signings straight the way that can make an impact in our team and make us better.
No, I agree, Pete. I agree. Interesting comment there from Geordie Ian. Conspiracy theory for you: do you think part of the Premier League stipulation for the sale to go through was we had to be relegated? Just seems our players don't care and the refs are totally shit.
You can't help but think that there's some sort of conspiracy going on with some of the decisions that we got on Saturday. Were absolutely atrocious, and it just smacks of them just not wanting us to be in the league. And it's not just the Premier League; it's all of the teams in the Premier League that would love nothing more than to send us down. So we're not just fighting for our own survival; we're fighting against the rest of the Premier League for our own survival. But I do believe that. We'll stay in the league. I do. I think Eddie Howe will get us playing and get us the points that will keep us in the league. I think that there are 3 teams that will be worse than us, and I actually think there's probably a 4th in there as well. And I do believe that we'll stay in the league. We just need to be patient. We just need to continue to support the lads as well as we did. The reception that they got, and I know some of the journalists touched on it at the end of the game, the receptions those players got and the manager got after the game, considering we lost 2-0, right, was just unbelievable. You don't get that anywhere else. You do not get that anywhere else. And we were right near the Arsenal fans. We had Ty from Arsenal Fans TV right next to us, right where we were sitting, and like you could see those guys, they couldn't believe that we clapped louder. We clapped louder than the home fans at Arsenal that had just won 2-0. Yeah, we clapped louder and more for our players that lost 2-0, right, compared to Arsenal. As soon as the final whistle went, there's a quick clap and out the door. We stayed and we sang and we applauded the team because we could see there was progress being made. Yes, it wasn't quite good enough, but we could see that progress was being made. And the travelling fans that went there, we appreciated that. Okay. We're not going to appreciate it forever because we do need results, but we appreciated that those guys gave everything.
Yeah. And that's all we ask for as fans, isn't it, Pete? And we were saying that when the takeover went through, you had these pundits coming out saying, "Oh, just to manage your Newcastle fans' expectations, you're not going to win anything in the next couple of years. It's going to take time. We know all that. All we want is a team that tries, and we want a team that's managed by a proper manager. And we've got that now. If we've got a team that's trying, there's a plan, and we're doing our very best. You won't hear people getting behind, going against the players. You just won't hear it. And certainly from the 2 games I've seen, there's been a marked improvement, Pete, and I don't think anyone can argue with that. And we go in tomorrow, I would say, quite confident. I mean, imagine going into the Norwich home game tomorrow under Bruce. I think there'd be a lot of panic
Oh,
and skepticism.
I think there'd be a lot of negativity going into that game. I think there'd be a lot of fans going into that game under Steve Bruce, ready to tear Steve Bruce a new one and vent their frustration. And it would all it would take is either going a goal down or a misplaced pass or a poor choice in selection, and they'd be right on the back of him. But it's going to be different. I've not heard anything, but I hope War Flags bring something back out for Eddie Howe, whether it's the same banners again or whether it's something slightly different. It'd be lovely to give him the reception that he deserves for being our manager at the first home game back. It would be lovely for that to happen. And that would really get the players up. And let's face it, we played this Norwich team in pre-season. I know it's pre-season, but we played them off the park.
Yeah.
Particularly in the second half, we played them off the park. They've still got the same players, but we've got players that have been rejuvenated. So have they to a certain extent. But I believe that we've got much better quality of player that can beat them tomorrow,
Yeah.
and I fully expect us to win.
Yeah, no, I do, mate. I think we're going to give it a real good go. Wouldn't surprise me if we scored 2 or 3. Really wouldn't. This next comment from Bazza Dixon leads me on nicely. So Bazza has wrote, Yano, mate, Gabby, Ashkanahor. I'll say Abonahor because I think that's what he means, really. Has diverted all the ridicule from us. Now, Pete, I know we were talking about this pre-show because I'd asked you if you'd heard anything about it. I hadn't seen anything, if I'm honest. I've not been on social media today, but I believe Gabby Abonahor has been spouting his mouth off again. So do you want to tell us a little bit about what you've heard or what you're aware of?
Yeah, so I've got to be honest. I saw it put on by TalkSport, and I saw what TalkSport had put in terms of their tweet, obviously about Newcastle and what Gabriel Bonahor said, and instantly I said to myself, I'm not even listening to it, because that's what they're doing it for. They're putting it out there, so we bite and we react. And clearly, that's what fans have done, and I've seen more and more of it because more people that I interact with on Twitter have kind of tweeted it. Lee from Newcastle Fans TV has been very vocal about it, and 1 or 2 others have as well, and rightly so. Now, from what I gather, Gabriel Bonahor has made reference to the fact that we wouldn't be able to attract players to Newcastle because nobody wants to go and live in Newcastle, or alluding to the fact that nobody would want to go that far north and live up there. Look, a lot of fans and even ex-players, I know Rob Lee's responded, I know Steve Howie's pissed off about it, I know there's a number of other ex-players that have made comments. Keith Gillespie has as well, and rightly so. And these are ex-players that are, some of them are from further south that have come up to Newcastle and love the area. We've got a Londoner that talks about Newcastle in such a positive light that you wouldn't expect that, and that's John Joe Shelby. Ever since he's moved to the club, he's not said a bad word about Newcastle and the city and how he loves living there and how his family is so happy living in the north and living in Newcastle. We've had so many players, but this goes back to the point. It's not the issue about his attracting players. Eddie Howe mentioned it in his press conference, and he's absolutely right. He's got no, because he was asked the question in his press conference about the Ed Bonahor comment, and he was like, I don't agree with that. He was like, we have no issue with attracting players to Newcastle United. We've had some of the Premier League's best players play for Newcastle United that are not from the city. You go back to David Ginola, and he still comes back to the club and he still loves the club. We've had like players from further south like Jermaine Genius Kieran Dyer. Now, Jermaine Genius has made his comments about Newcastle, but that was his excuse to get out, in my opinion. He just wanted to move on. But we've had so many other players in the past that have come from further south that have come up to Newcastle and loved it. You know,
Well, look at all the people who come abroad, Pete. You got
Of course.
all your French players and Olivier Bernard. He's set up roots here, hasn't he? And
they all loved it, and they never
Yeah.
moaned about Newcastle. They never said they disliked it. They all absolutely loved it. Colaccini, Gutierrez, you know, Nobby Solano. You go back through years and years and years of players that have come to this club, and they absolutely love the club and love coming back to the city. So that's not the issue. The issue is Gabby Agbonlahor. Now, Gabby Agbonlahor is not a football fan. First and foremost, people might not know this. He doesn't like football. It's been well documented. Even when he was playing, he doesn't actually like football. He never wanted to be a footballer, and he said that in his interviews whilst being a player. He was a footballer just because he was half decent at it. And he just, you know, he was playing for his boyhood club. So he was like, that's what it is. He had the opportunity to move to Sunderland for £12 million and he turned it down. Sunderland was significantly better than Aston Villa at that point in time. And he turned that down because he didn't want to leave Birmingham. He is the absolute example of somebody that doesn't want to uproot and leave anywhere because Birmingham is his nest. Birmingham is his safe place. He'd go out in Birmingham on Broad Street, and I tweeted about this earlier on today. He'd go out in Birmingham Broad Street, and it'd be the big cheese. He'd be throwing out big licks because everyone loves him because he's a Birmingham lad, and he lives there, and he's from there, and he plays for Aston Villa. Right, he doesn't understand anywhere else in the country because he's never been anywhere else. When he had the opportunity to move on when Villa didn't want him, what did he do? He retired from football when he still could have played for 2 or 3 years. Like people that listen to people like Gabby Agbonlahor, right? All you're doing is winding up yourself. He doesn't care. He'll just keep throwing out these comments to get bites from you and reactions. So the best thing that us Newcastle fans can do is just ignore people like that. Because he's talking shit, and that's what it is. He's talking shit to get a reaction from us because it goes back to this old age point when the likes of Chris Sutton were doing it and Robbie Savage were doing it. What happened when they made those comments? Newcastle fans reacted, and what happened to those two people? They got more popular off the back of it, and they got more press, and they got paid more money, and they got more airtime off the back of Newcastle United. Gabby Agbonlahor is doing the same because does everyone really want to listen to Gabby Agbonlahor? No, nobody cares about him. Like he was a half decent player anyway. He was lucky to get the amount of caps he did for England because he was dreadful. He wasn't that good of a player. And if it had gone anywhere else, and he knows this, he would have flopped big time, right? So that's my opinion on Gabby Agbonlahor from what I know about him. So yeah, ignore it, block it, do whatever you need to do to not react for it. But if you react, if us as Newcastle fans keep reacting to people like Gabby Agbonlahor, what you're going to find, they're just going to keep saying it. There'll be something else that comes out next week, and something else the week after, and something else, and they'll keep winding us Newcastle fans up. And if we keep biting, they'll keep doing it. The one thing we need to do is just ignore it. Don't give it any reactions. Don't ring up to the shows and vent your frustrations. Just ignore it, because what they'll do, they'll move on to another club.
Well said, Pete. Well said. I mean, do we file him in the Danny Mills box as well?
Yeah,
I've had enough of him as well.
File him right alongside Danny Mills. File him right alongside Danny Murphy. File him right alongside Chris Sutton. File him right alongside Robbie Savage. All of those absolute clowns, right, that don't know nothing about our club. They'll just spout rubbish just because it gets them a little bit more airtime, a little bit more popularity, and it gets them paid a little bit more money. That's the only reason they do what they do. You know, Simon Jordan's another one. Do you hear about Simon Jordan now making his points? You don't hear anything from Simon Jordan now because he's got nothing to talk about as Newcastle related. So what has he done? He's now gone on to Manchester United, and he's now ripping into Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. He's now ripping into Manchester United and their organisation and how they're being ran as a club. It happens. It is what it is. We just need to stop biting to it. because they'll just move on to somebody else. Somebody else will be the point of their frustration, and that's it.
Yeah, I think you're right, mate. A comment come up, I can't find it now, but I thought it was an interesting one. It was from Oliver Boothroyd, and Oliver said, if Gerrard had got the job, do you think he would have got more points after 2 games than Eddie Howe? Because he's made quite the start at Villa, hasn't he?
Yeah, but Villa are more set than us. Villa were more set. Villa already had a number of points on the board. Villa have a good defensive unit. They've got good centre backs. Okay, they've got good players. They've got Tuanzebe there. They've got Konza. They've got Mings, who, all 3 of them are better than what we've got to offer at the moment. So he had something to build from. Do I think he would have got the results and points on the board that we didn't have? You could maybe argue if he was managing at the game against Brentford, he probably would have got us 3 points. But I equally believe that if Eddie Howe was in the dugout against Brentford, we would have got 3 points too.
Yeah, I do.
I don't think we would have performed not necessarily performed the way we did, but I don't think we would have conceded some of the goals that we did. I think he would have made it different. And when we pulled it back to 3-3 with 15 minutes to go in that game, I think he would have drove us on to try and get the winner. So I think his influence or lack of influence was massive. So yeah, not really in terms of the points that we've got. Brentford and Arsenal. That I don't think he would have got too much more.
Yeah, that's a fair point, Pete. Well, before we finish up, I want to talk a little bit now about Norwich, because obviously big game tomorrow. Need the 3 points. We're all hoping for 3 points. How do you see tomorrow going, Pete? What are you? Well, first of all, I'll ask you: are you making any changes to the lineup? And what's your prediction for the match? What are you thinking? And obviously, all the viewers as well, get your predictions in. I know some of you have been putting your predictions in, and I'll flash them up on screen. But do you think there's going to be any changes for tomorrow to the lineup? Well, I know there's going to be some enforced ones. And what do you think the score will be?
I would change.
The Cells is out, by the way, isn't he, Pete? Am I right
Yeah,
in saying
he's suspended 1 game.
The Cells and Richie.
And Richie, both 1 game.
Yeah.
So they'll both be back for Burnley, but obviously they're not playing Tuesday, tomorrow. I do change the formation. I go 4-4-3-3 tomorrow. I think we're better set for 4-3-3. Fernandes and Shaw as your centre backs. I would go Manquillo, right wing back.
Yeah.
Lewis, left wing back. Both can get forward. Okay. I would like to think that we're going to be getting forward more than we are defending tomorrow against Norwich. So I think having attacking fullbacks would help that. I would then look at the midfield 3. And this has been talked about a lot, actually. I think one or two fans have mentioned this about having a 3 in midfield would give Willock the license to do what he did last season in terms of breaking through and getting into the box. I've just seen Yano's comment about hopefully they're not back for Burnley, and I kind of agree with you, Yano. I've got to agree. What I'm hoping is actually the team that I hopefully have said is right, and we go on and win. So therefore, that team stays against Burnley, and we've got those guys on the bench. But so that's my back four. Obviously, Dubravka in goal, Fabian Shaw, Fernandes centre back with Lewis left back. Manquillo right back. Midfield 3. Shelvey, Willock. And you know what? It's not his position, but just to get him in there, yeah, I'd play Miggy, because you know what? He gave us an extra 10% when he came on. He really lit up the team and really gave us that buzz. I think we need.
He always does, Pete. He always does, and this is why I've said I'm an apologist for Miggy. Like the work rate and the effort. I think he sets the tone, and I think he makes other players up their game because they think, bloody hell, he's running around like a lunatic here. I better start, moving a bit. He must be a manager's dream. He's got to be.
You know what? Like we were kind of dead and buried at 2-0 when he eventually came on. But then for that 10 or 15 minutes after that, we had more chances. We had more attacking emphasis at goal. At one point, at one point after Miggy came on and he was driving forward with the ball, we were camped in their half for like 10 minutes. We had a 10-minute spell where we were camped in their half. We had a couple of corners. We created a few chances, and it was like he's really give us like that emphasis, and he'll be fighting. He'll be fighting for his place in the team too. He'll be wanting to play. He won't be happy sitting on the bench. So he's going to want to put a performance in himself to say, you know what, I'm here as well. He's another one that didn't get a chance to train with the lads initially because he was on international duty. So, it's not his position, but I think we've got a game tomorrow where we can play someone like Miggy there and maybe get away with it, but he's going to give us so much emphasis going forward that it could really open up the game. So yeah, I'll probably go with that, and then I'm going with the front three that's been the front three originally, and that's Big Joe, Wilson, and ASM. Now it's quite, it might seem quite harsh on Ryan Fraser. He didn't have as better game as a wing back against us. I don't think he was bad. I don't think he was awful.
No. He just didn't really do much. He didn't do anything wrong, but he didn't, like, he made that impact, didn't he, when he came on against Brentford? He made that instant impact. He just didn't have that.
And that's why I haven't put him in the team, because I'm hoping that he could potentially have that again, whether it's to get us the winning goal or whether it's to shore up the win. You know what? He's been on me for a couple of weeks. He's been pointing me out left, right, and centre. I don't know what I've done to you, mate, but like, I apologise. But no, you're absolutely right. I actually don't think, apart from their first goal, whereas Kraft got caught the wrong side of Saka and got punished for it. Other than that, I don't think he had the worst game. His positioning was off in the first 10 minutes, and I pointed out to a couple of lads I was with, because the Lascelles and Shaw were positioned really well, but Kraft was like so far away from them that there was gaps in between him and Lascelles that could be exploited. He managed to sort that out for the rest of the first half, but then in the second half he got caught the other side. But other than that, I don't think he had the worst of games. So, I can't necessarily argue his selection in there against Arsenal, but yeah, it is what it is. I won't play him on Tuesday.
Do you think the fact that Vichy's out, and I know predominantly he's a midfielder, do you think that is why we'll go to 4 at the back for that reason? Because maybe he won't feel comfortable. I'm saying Eddie Howe won't feel comfortable playing the likes of Lewis at left wing, at left midfield, or do you think there's an option for him to maybe put? This is a bit of a different one, but do you think there's an option that he might put, say, Fraser at left midfield rather than Lewis, or do you think he will just go for the traditional back 4, knowing that the players we've got at our disposal suit that formation?
I think if he goes 4 at the back, I think he'll go Lewis. I think he'll go Lewis with Ryan Fraser on the bench, just because of the way that team's set up. Now that team's ultimately set up for. I know, mate. Don't worry about it. That team's set up to get Willock playing. That team is set up perfectly for Willock to allow him to play his game and to get forward and join the attacks. As is Miggy, really. Like, Shelby's that deep line centre midfielder, and you can allow the other two to really drive forward and get into attacking areas. And that's what we should be against Norwich. It shouldn't be backs to the wall, nicking a goal here or there.
No, it shouldn't.
We should really be. I think if we take the game to Norwich, I was listening to a preview from a Norwich fan, and like they were talking about their, for all their like better form just recently, they've still got the likes of Grant Hanley in there, and he was saying like Grant Hanley will always give you a chance because he'll always make a mistake. He's that Titus Bramble, and if we put enough pressure on that team. I mean, Grant Hanley against Callum Wilson and ASM, really? Like, he's going to create a chance. He's going to give us a chance, but we've got to be able to put him in a position where he's going to give us a chance.
Yeah, we've got to get the ball up, haven't we?
We need to really get forward. We need to put the emphasis on them. We need to go out and really kind of push them. I'm not saying going all out attack. Stay solid at the back, but allow our attacking players to really drive forward. And that's why I feel so confident that we're going to win, because I think our attacking players are significantly better than their attacking players. And I think we can easily break down their defence. I actually think Brentford's defence is better than Norwich's by some way.
Oh, no,
we
quite
managed to
comfortably.
breach their defence 3 times. So I'm thinking, if we play the same way, there's no reason why we can't breach their defence at least a couple of times, enough to win the game. And if we cut out the mistakes with Dubravka in goal, we should really be on to a winner. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Do you know what? I put this comment up because I started laughing as soon as I seen it from Martin Doyley. I'm so glad you said this, Martin, because I put this on our group chat. I don't know if you saw it. You probably saw it after the match, Pete.
Yeah,
but the irony of our captain with his arm in the air saying, "Oh, it's offside," and when you watch the replay, it's only him playing him onside. Everybody else has moved forwards, bar him, and you just think, "Oh, come on." Like, I'm not being funny. That's basic stuff, Pete. That is basic.
Look,
And he's the one. Oh.
Look, we know what 1 or 2 in the Loaded family are have it in their opinions on Lascelles. I know your opinion's strong on him, and I've always tried to kind of see the positives with Lascelles, and I've always tried to sort of like not back him, but say, you know what, like, it's not necessarily all him. But
I like him in the opposition box, Pete. I think he's a threat in the opposition box, and I'm not knocking him for that. But I just think he's
that's what he's brought for, though.
No, exactly. I just think he's a bit like what you've just been describing with Grant Hanley. He's got a mistake in him all the time, and I don't think he's that vocal of a leader. If he was a really vocal leader and he led the team and he was, a bit of a Carragher, constantly screaming, and you saw those leadership qualities, I think people would kind of make excuses for him. Bit like what I was talking about with Miggy. I make excuses for Miggy. His end product isn't good enough, and it's not the best. Maybe we can coach that out of him. I don't know, but I just think with Lascelles, he doesn't offer enough. He doesn't offer enough leadership qualities to warrant being the captain. And the reason that he's in the team is because he's the captain. If he wasn't the captain of this club, I don't think he would start as many games as he does. I really don't.
I agree. I don't think he would. Now, the one thing I said a while back, I think it was way into last season, about Jamal Lascelles, is that he's another one that's not really a football fan. I'll always go.
No,
back,
he's not. He's not.
I'll always go back to the lockdown. I think it was around May 2020 when he did a podcast or an interview with somebody on Instagram, and they asked him a question. Do you watch this player? Do you watch that player? And he was like, I don't really watch football. Like, I'm a basketball fan, and that for me took me back. I was like, what? Like, you don't watch other centre backs to learn how they played? I think they made reference to like Sergio Ramos and some of the best defenders in the world. And it's like, I don't really watch football. Like, how can you get better if you don't watch football? Like,
and why would you even admit that, Pete? Why would you even admit it?
Crazy. Whether he got caught with it, blindsided with it, I have no idea. But that for me was a big turn off in my affection towards Jamal Lascelles. If you don't live, breathe football and watch football, and you learn the game from watching others and seeing how other defenders do it, so you can improve your own game. You look at some of the best in the world. Some of the best in the world always talk about others that they watched and followed their game and mimicked their game, even on the same abilities and the same way style of playing. If you don't do that, you're never going to get better.
No.
So I think at this point, I don't actually think Lascelles has hit his ceiling. I think he's already on the way down. I think he's already hit his ceiling. His ceiling was hit maybe a couple of years ago, certainly around the 2018 World Cup. And I actually think he's on the way down now. And I do think, again, Eddie Howe was asked about the captaincy today. I thought he answered it very, very well, but I thought he answered it in a way in which told me that.
What did he say, Pete?
I can't remember.
Again, I haven't seen it.
I can't remember exactly what he said, but I think the question was, "What did you consider changing the captaincy when you came in as manager?" And he started by sort of praising Jamal Lascelles as a captain and being a young captain and being given the responsibility quite early on in his career, and he's done well over the years. But then kind of stopped there and was like, going into the summer, like, I don't know what's going to happen, blah, blah, blah. And he kind of,
Oh, well,
it
that
was
tells you the answer then, doesn't
very,
it?
very interesting. I can't remember the exact words, but I remember
I'll have to
listening to
watch it.
that. I remember listening to that and thinking, like, that tells me that there could be a new captain, and I believe that there would be. I think I said it before. I always believed that Eddie Howe wouldn't take the captaincy off him straight away. It would be bad for the squad to do that.
Yeah, not mid-season. Not mid-season.
Not to make that big change. Unless Lascelles left in January, that's a different story. But to come in and rip the captaincy off him, I think would be bad for the squad, and I think it would create problems that don't need to be created. But I do believe that by next season, regardless of what league we're in, we will have a new captain at the club. There is no doubt about it. And it will probably be a player that's not currently at the club right now, in my opinion. I think we'll buy
I
a
completely
player.
agree. Could be Tarkowski, couldn't it?
It is. Ben Mee's the captain at Burnley, but when Ben Mee's not available, he sometimes takes the captaincy. So he's already showed his leadership as a centre back. Even though Ben Mee's the captain, Tarkowski is the better of the centre backs, and he kind of leads the line better. But Keith Roll made the point. Lascelles in the wrong sport. He should have picked basketball and playing for the Newcastle Eagles. Well, his brother plays for the Newcastle Eagles, and that's where he spends most of his time watching his brother play, rather than our under 23s or our women's team or whatever. He watches more of the basketball. Like I said, he's a basketballer playing football. He's got raw attributes that are very, very good, that really should have took him to the top of the game. But if you haven't got the attitude and the appetite to want to get better and want to play at the top level and want to improve your game by watching others and better players in and around you, you're never going to get there. So at 26 years old, it already seems like he's going down, and it might be one of those where if we do stay in the league this season, I think it'll be a case of he'll move on. I think he'll go to either a newly promoted team or maybe even into the
top end championship. Yeah,
I think,
and that's probably his level. I think that's his level. Fantastic stat there from Yano. I've just been reading that. Since the beginning of last season, Lascelles has been involved in 3 wins, and one of those away at Everton, and he went off injured with the score at 0-0, and we won 2-0.
Remember? Yeah, we did the match day live, didn't we? Interesting, very interesting.
Fair. That's telling, that, isn't it? That's telling. And Yano, hopefully, the stats will look up for this weekend, won't they? Because he won't be playing. So maybe we'll get that elusive first win, because Lascelles won't be there, will he? So
and hopefully our second win on Saturday with him not in the team either.
Yeah. Let's hope he doesn't start on Saturday either. That'd be nice. But anyway, Pete, I am going to wrap things up. Oh, we are. Is Yano again? Lascelles' challenge on Martinelli was a disgrace. I don't remember that.
Yeah, should have been a penalty. He cleaned him out. Martinelli was, I think, through on goal. Not through on goal, coming in at an angle. And I think the ball gets played across. So he's kind of running at an angle, and Lascelles is running toe to toe with him and just absolutely wipes him out. Like, literally.
I must have missed that. I'll have to look back on it.
I'd
have probably been raging. If I'd have seen it, Pete, I'd have been bringing it up today, because you know my feelings on Lascelles anyway.
Yeah, it was that Martinelli was down for a few minutes. He got properly cleaned out. Now, like, it could quite easily have been given a penalty, and I'm surprised with that ref that we had on Saturday. I'm surprised he didn't give it him, to be honest with you. But I think it was not long after the Callum Wilson incident and then their goal being scored. So I think maybe the referee thought, I can't not give the Callum Wilson penalty and then give that one. It was bad. It was
bit
bad.
of payback.
But it's just a lack of intelligence.
Yeah,
and it's like he just plays purely on instinct at the time and aggression. And at the top level, that's not quite enough.
No. I think we're all in agreement. The sooner we replace Jamal Lascelles and get a new captain, the better. I think you'll start to see improved performances. That's why I used to love Freddy being in there, because Fernandez would he would take the captaincy, wouldn't he? 9 times out of 10 when Lascelles was out, and you did see a difference. I'm not saying Fernandez is the perfect captain, but I'd take him over Lascelles. I genuinely would.
I hope he has it. I really do hope he has it, but I think he'll give it to Shelby. I don't think Shelby needs that responsibility at the moment. I think Shelby just needs to keep playing the way he's playing at the moment, because he's had 2 really good games for us, and he'll be critical as well to whether we win the game tomorrow. If he's on form again, I think he'll have a good game. If we win, I think it'll be partly down to the way in which he plays, and I don't think giving him the captain's armband is ideal. You don't want to put that pressure on him. Just like Lascelles being the captain, I don't think we should be putting the pressure on him with the captain's armband either.
He needs to concentrate on his own game.
Yeah, give it to Fede Fernandez, give it to Martin Dubravka, someone that's experienced, someone that's capable of taking on that responsibility and doing well with it. I'd even give it to someone like Callum Wilson, as another alternative. I'm not really a big fan of strikers having it. Obviously, Shearer had it, but he's special. But I would give it to one of those other 3 and just let them have the responsibility, let them focus on being a captain. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. We did have one very last question. I've seen it at the chat there, and I want to quickly sneak it in before we give our predictions for the match, Pete. And that is life goals. Quick question, chaps. Would you try to rotate Wilson with Gale in December to avoid injuries?
It's a great question. And with a quick turnaround and with Wilson's injury record, you would like to think that would be the case. However, he is being coached now by Eddie Howe, and Eddie Howe's fitness regime is significantly better. So he may well be able to play all these games and get through them. But it may well be in some of those games, particularly in games where we're playing some of the better teams, the likes of Man City, Man United, Liverpool, where it might get to certain points in the game and he might rest Wilson. So if we're playing against Liverpool, for example, and we're getting completely turned over, at that point it's probably best if you bring Wilson off and save him for another game, and bring Dwight Gale on later on for 15-20 minutes. I think it'll all depend on how the game's going. I think if Wilson's got a couple of goals and we're 2 or 3-0 up and it's like the 75th minute, I think he'll come off. I think Dwight Gale will get a run out. And I think that's the type of intelligent management of his players that needs to take place as the game goes on. But I think it all depends on circumstances. But if we can do it, but we're less likely to win games with Callum Wilson on the bench than he is on in the team. That's just the reality. Until we get another striker in that can complement him, either in the starting lineup or to be in a position to come on to replace him. To take the pressure off, he's the only guy we've got at the moment.
Pete, one of my favourite subjects, last thing before we do predictions, nothing better than a little bit of shithousery. I'm looking at the fixtures here, mate. I'm thinking for the Leicester away game, does Eddie Howe tell Callum Wilson to get a yellow card so that he misses the Liverpool game at Anfield? And then he's got a free run at City at home, Man United at home, and Everton away. Because am I right in thinking the yellow cards go out the window as soon as January hits?
I think it's around January. So at the end of December, January time, it runs out.
Yeah.
And look, with the way Callum Wilson plays, he's quite bullish. He's a bit of a shithouse himself. He always gets himself a yellow card. I'll be honest with you. I think we'll be very lucky if he makes Leicester. He makes the Leicester game and he's still got 4 yellow cards. I've got to be honest with you. And look, I hope this doesn't happen, but I think the likes of Norwich and Burnley will be looking at that and thinking,
they'll be all over them, won't they?
Let's get him booked. Let's get him like suspended for one of the games, because if he's not in the team, it gives them a better chance. It's as simple as that. So he's going to have to play very, very smart. And some of the battles he was getting involved with Gabriel, I was thinking, this is not good, and especially with that ref. But he managed to get through the game unscathed. But we need him. If he does manage to get to Leicester, and obviously I hope we're beating Leicester at this point comfortably. And I know we'll both be enjoying that at the time, because we'll both be in the away end. But Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good, mate. Very
I
good.
would.
Well, before we wrap up, Pete, I'm going to ask you your prediction for tomorrow.
I've been quite positive with a lot of these results recently, and I'm going to be positive again. I think we're going to win. I think we're going to win 3-0.
Nice. Okay, yeah. I'm going to say
you, mate?
3-1.
Okay.
I think we're going to win. I'm going to do a Stu Penman. I'm going to say 3-1. And yeah, I think we're taking the 3 points home tomorrow. Really, I really do. I think we're due that win. And what better opportunity? And Eddie Howe should be saying to the players in the dressing room, if you want to stay in this league, these are the games you got to win.
Yeah.
Got to take the 3 points home. But listen, it's been a great show. To all the people at home for watching, thank you so much. Thank you for sticking with us. I know it's been a bit of a frustration. 79-0, yeah, that'd be lovely.
Take it.
I know tonight's been a bit of frustration with the slow off thing. We tried our best. Hopefully it's gone. Has it gone? Did you manage to switch it off, Pete?
There's
No.
nothing been changed. Everything there's the same. I spoke to Jules about it. I don't know whether Steve's done something, but it's definitely not us. Not sure what it is, but like you said, we can only apologise.
Yeah.
Speaking to Jules, I don't think there's anything that's changed with the way that we're talking and the way that we are. I think we're okay. It's just how the chat is running quite slowly. But yeah, apologise for that. Oh,
Yeah.
Rachel said it's gone.
Oh, fab. Well, at least it's been sorted now. A little bit late, but at least it's been sorted. But listen, thank you very much to everyone who's been watching. As always, we love your input. This show isn't the same without all of you being involved. So thank you very much for watching, and thank you very much for all your comments. Pete, as always, mate, absolute pleasure. And I'm gonna have to give you the call tomorrow, aren't I? Are you at the match tomorrow? We got asked that before.
No, but it's
No, I'm
obviously
not at the match.
midweek game and it's up north, and I don't finish work until like late afternoon, so I've got no chance of getting up there.
No, I'm the
Unfortunately.
same. I'm the same. But listen, to everyone who's going, be safe, and let's hope we get our 3 points. Thanks very much, everyone. Bye bye.
Yeah.